Right now at 6, a battle over reproductive rights.
We already know that a significant number of us feel that now is the time and this is the moment.
Democrats have the votes necessary to protect freedom of choice. Republicans aren't going down easy.
I see us running the distance. I suspect that those in the media who want to stay here should find themselves a pillow.
Housing is becoming anything but affordable in the metro.
It's a basic necessity that human beings need to survive.
City leaders are offering up their ideas. We have an in-depth 360 look at whether they're feasible.
They're trying to kind of force a square peg into a round hole.
Thank you for joining us for Denver 7 News at 6. I'm Jessica Porter.
And I'm Jason Grenauer. On the same day, Texas abortion clinics deemed their challenge of their state's abortion bill effectively over. Colorado lawmakers are preparing for another long night of debate.
Democrats say they're trying to protect a person's fundamental right to reproductive choice. Denver 7's Megan Lopez joins us live now. Megan, laws like this one in Texas are the reason why our state is taking this issue up.
Yeah, that's right, Jessica and Jason, particularly what's happening in the U.S. Supreme Court. The Dobbs versus Jackson's Women Health Organization, the oral arguments were heard for that in December, and a ruling is expected really this summer, sometime maybe even in June. So ahead of all of that, and because of the fear that Roe versus Wade could be overturned because of the conservative slant of the U.S. Supreme Court, Colorado lawmakers, Colorado Democrats say this bill is necessary. So let's talk quickly about what it does. The bill states that everyone has a right to use or refuse contraception, that abortions are legal in Colorado, and that it's illegal to prosecute or to punish someone who seeks one of these.
Megan, beyond the philosophical arguments, are there other reasons Republicans are opposed to this?
The philosophical arguments are obviously going to be the very big ones, Jessica, that we're certainly hearing quite a bit about today in the debates. But beyond that, what I'm hearing from Republicans is that this is the wrong solution for the issue, and that we should be looking at socioeconomic solutions to help pregnant people who maybe say that they can't afford babies, for instance. They also worry about parental notification laws, and if this bill is going to affect that, and they say that this should be decided by the voters or by local governments and not by lawmakers. But most importantly, they say that this bill puts really no guardrails whatsoever around abortion when it comes to how far along a woman or a pregnant person can be in their pregnancy when seeking an abortion, or the reasons behind that abortion. Here's State Representative Stephanie Luck talking about that.
What this bill is saying is that it's okay to abort a child because they're the wrong sex, because they have a disability, because they're the wrong race. That's not life to me. That's not thriving. That's not advancing the values that I think Coloradans support.
So she considers this bill to be extreme and says that it will open up the state to lawsuits. And she says, more importantly, it doesn't help women in the right way, and it doesn't help the state to thrive. Democrats obviously have a very different opinion on that.
Of course. And are Democrats willing to budge on the bill or some of its language at all?
Yeah, I spoke with some of the Democrat prime co-sponsors today of this bill, and they say that they've spent a lot of time crafting it in a way that they don't really think needs very many amendments. But that being said, Representative Meg Froelich, one of the bill's co-sponsors, told me that she's always willing to listen. She stayed until 4 a.m. during that committee debate that happened on Wednesday, and she says she'll be here all night tonight listening to this and seeing if there's really anything that they might be willing to pass. Now, that being said, I would say that there have been 10 different amendments that have been proposed at this point in the debate, and none of them have passed. But again, they say that they're willing to listen. So here's Representative Meg Froelich.
We'll go into the night and we'll hear all sorts of arguments about why this isn't the answer. But we already know that a significant number of us feel that now is the time and this is the moment and this is the bill.
And at the end of the day, what Representative Froelich says is that Coloradans have proven time and again that this is what they want because of how they voted on previous ballot measures. So what we're expecting tonight is a very long night with a debate, but we are expecting to see this bill pass in the House. And if it does pass and it does move on, we're expecting some other very long, late nights at the Colorado State Capitol. I'm live. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
It's going to be a long night. Thank you, Megan.
Natural disasters like the Marshall Fire can happen without warning. For those who lost everything, there are a lot of obstacles to overcome. A new state bill introduced this week addresses one of those hurdles. It would allow anyone who lost their home to a natural disaster to keep their address for purposes of voting.
If you plan to rebuild your home, you can stay registered to vote at that location. If you want to register to vote at the place you're living temporarily, whatever that means, it could be a few years as people start to rebuild, you can register to vote and vote at that location.
Now that bill was just introduced Tuesday. It will have its first hearing next Tuesday.
The city of Denver says it does in fact have enough shelter capacity space despite a protest last night at the Carla Madison Rec Center. Advocates wanted the city to open the rec center as a shelter, claiming all homeless shelters were full. The city's Department of Housing Stability says last night there were more than 60 regular beds available and 175 beds in overflow. The city plans to meet with homeless advocates on Monday.
And shelter capacity would be much less of an issue if there were more proper affordable housing options.
Tonight we have a 360 in-depth look at the state of affordable housing in Denver. It's now hit a new extreme.
Nearly half of all renters in Denver are considered rent burdened, meaning more than 30% of their monthly income pays for their housing.
Denver 7's Russell Haythorne goes in depth on whether a new plan will work to ease that burden.
Luke Traeger is comfortable here.
I'm a professional, work for a startup based here in Denver.
With a roommate and a good income, his rent near South Broadway is manageable.
I like being able to bike and walk to friends' houses. I love the South Broadway area. I love Wash Park, and that communal aspect I think is why I love the city, and moving out of the area would remove that joy.
But in a city where the cost of living is skyrocketing, that comfortability is often threatened.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't have a partner that I would buy a house with at the moment, and there's not a lot of options, honestly.
The city of Denver is now proposing a new strategy to provide more affordable housing to both renters and buyers. The signature feature of the plan make it mandatory for developers to offer about 10% of any new project of 10 or more apartments or condos as affordable. For example, on the rental side, if a developer was building a 20-unit condo complex with rents averaging $2,000 a month, 2 units must be offered at around $1,200 a month to those making 60 to 70% of the area median income. The plan is praised by some, has some vocal critics, and has others on the fence about its viability. So let's explore that in this 360 report, starting with the harshest critics.
This is called 360 Acoma,
including Scott Rathbun.
They're trying to kind of force a square peg into a round hole.
He's the president of Apartment Appraisers and Consultants and sees this kind of proposal as a failing proposition because it puts builders underwater, making projects unfeasible.
A lot of development is just not going to happen. It's not going to pencil. For the last 12 years, single-family homes have appreciated 180%. What we don't want to do is we don't want to disincentivize apartment construction because apartments are the affordable option.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Drew Hamrick with the Colorado Apartment Association agrees and says the better solution is a federal program called LIHTC, Low Income Housing Tax Credit, which incentivizes developers to offer multiple units or sometimes entire developments as affordable.
Those projects work. They get built all the time. 20% of the units will have the rent capped and subsidized, if you will. But the difference is what the government is giving the developer is worth that loss of income. A better way is to build more housing units at all price points.
He and others, like former mayoral candidate and development consultant Jamie Gillis, say this proposal will cause builders to retract, exit the market, and leave buyers and renters high and dry with even fewer places to live.
My general observation is you can't make housing more affordable by making it more expensive.
So you end up with fewer overall units to meet that demand, which is exactly what we don't need in the existing market.
Luxury units being built in our city.
But Councilwoman Robin Kanish says this sky is falling criticism is unfounded, and she's calling their bluff.
Every time we talk about a developer requirement, developers have told us that they will stop building in Denver. Guess what? Do you still see some cranes out there? I bet you do. Development is still happening in Denver.
She spent a decade working on affordable housing, and a new bill from the state last year finally allows cities like Denver to require a percentage of new homes as affordable. Roughly 1,000 municipal ordinances like this already exist across the country.
And I can tell you, in every market that has these laws, housing is still being built.
Are we going in the right direction? Absolutely.
Brother Jeff Farrard says Denver's affordability crisis is a direct reflection of bad policy making for decades.
And it looks like these policies are saying, we don't only have policies, we have teeth inside of those policies. So if you really want to participate in this market, we want affordable housing. Are you able to do that? And if you're not, then we're looking for developers that are.
While this is a small step, Brother Jeff says we're still not building a city for families.
Every single piece of earth you see in this city is building taller and taller and taller. But at some point, they're going to want to start a family, and this won't be the city for families.
Realtor Joy Dysart with HomeSmart sees the viability and has tracked the market as much as anyone.
In general, I do support it.
But she says the devil is in the details. She's concerned about how it will be managed and believes Denver must have a department dedicated to keeping track of these affordable units.
On the surface, it looks good. I mean, Denver has not always managed these programs. Who's going to monitor that? That is a huge undertaking.
Interview people and do paperwork on people and, understand their income.
Caught in the middle is the so-called missing middle. Middle income earners like Luke.
Would like to own a home eventually, ideally sooner.
He's a current renter, a future buyer, fingers crossed, but feeling squeezed out at the moment by a housing market that seems to cater to cash and lots of it.
It's almost laughable to me that it is a debate. Like, it's a basic necessity that human beings need to survive.
Russell Haythorne, Denver 7.
When I got here in 47, the people didn't have ski clothing.
Over the past 75 years, he's changed the game.
Buttons on it, no zipper. They're nice and warm, but you could also ski in it.
How a simple idea sparked slope-style fashion.
Temperatures finally thawing out, and we have some 60s in the 7-day forecast.